All right, guys, with no further ado, we're going to get open. I'd like to welcome everybody and wish you all happy Eclipse Day. I hope everybody used their glasses to see this wondrous event that we had today. I'm going to start by introducing the STROAG board. I think several of them are here. We've got Ron Venable here, who is the vice president. We've got Winter Bush, who is the secretary. Chris Wren is a board member. Vonda Tackett's a board member. David Bloom is a board member, and Suzanne McClure is our treasurer. And my name is Anna Dre, and I'm the president this year of STROAG. On behalf of the organization and all the residents of Galveston, we want to thank you guys for being here tonight and for being current leaders, for being potential future city leaders. It's a lot of work to run for office, and our city's better for it. Our city's better for the competition, and we appreciate all of you putting yourselves out there. I do want to make one little announcement. Marie is remote right now. She got to see a great view of the eclipse. So we're hoping the internet holds out and there might be a little running around because she's in a remote thing. So we'll give her a little bit of grace on that tonight. I want to thank our attendees for tuning in as well. And I want to thank all of the members of the STROAG board for helping to organize this. So at the beginning, we're going to ask everybody to have their microphones off across the board. And then candidates, when it's your turn to answer questions, go ahead and turn your mic back on. I want to remind everybody, all of our STROAG meetings are recorded for future viewing. Just like our last candidate forum, this one will be available. In our last candidate forum, you can see the count. We had about 50 views afterwards. So I was well pleased that the wisdom that you guys as current potential future leaders was spread further. Ground rules for tonight. You're going to have time to do an introduction. We're going to pose 5 questions, assuming our time holds out, and then you'll closing. All of those will be a minute and a half, 90 seconds. I apologize in advance. I know that's not enough time. But our people's attention spans only go so far. So we're going to try and use them wisely and get as much good information out and hear about your vision for the city. The total debate time should be around 85 minutes. I'm not sure that's right, but ish. We're going to ask the candidates to please limit inter-candidate discussions, to please focus your responses on the people came to hear what your vision for the city is. And then Craig and Frank, we're going to do the mayor questions first. You guys are welcome to leave after your portion's up. You're also welcome to stay. I just know all of y'all get to do a lot of these. So with no further ado, we're going to get started with the mayoral portion of this. And spoiler alert, I will let the candidates, the different district candidates know our questions are going to be the same. So you're going to be hearing the questions for the mayor debate all at the same time, and you'll have those. So we'd like to start with Craig, and then Frank, and then we'll flip-flop that every question. Question number 1, what is your Winter? Winter is our timekeeper. Thank you. Look at her. She knew her job. Winter will flash at 30 seconds, at 15 seconds, and when she holds up a 00, you're out of time. Please finish the sentence you're currently in, and then we'll go on. What is your long-term vision for the island, and what steps would you take to achieve it? Craig?
Well, I think the long-term vision for the island is to continue the progress that we've been making on the island here for the last so many years. We've got progress going on that's more than ever has been in the history of the island here. Financial stability, infrastructure, the port expansion, tourism. And we need to work with the short-term rental industry more to come up with guidelines that will be even more appropriate for the industry. So I think continuing on the path that we're on right now, we'll have challenges, but we need to face those as we always have from a short-term rental industry standpoint, work with the industry. STROAG has been always so good to make sure that they have a balanced approach to the short-term rentals in the community, and we need to continue to foster that partnership.
Thank you, Craig. And I've already messed the debate up. I forgot to allow you to introduce yourself, sir. Why don't you go ahead now, Winter, if you could restart the clock. Frank, we're going to do the same thing for you. If you'll please answer and introduce yourself. When we get to the district people, we'll do you the right way around.
Do you want me
We'd
to?
love you to introduce yourself, Craig. We'll act like we don't know you.
Very good. Well, I want to thank STROAG for having their forum tonight. I learned something from it each time we've had it in the past. People ask me why I'm running for my final term, my third term, and it's really for the same reason that all of us are here tonight, and that is we want to give back to our community and make it the best that it can be. As I just mentioned, we've had a very successful run at the city. We have our challenges. We have areas that need to be better, but from many different viewpoints, the city is moving forward very positively. And a good part of that success has been the short-term rental industry. I've been working with that, as you know, in the past. The short-term rental industry has set standards in the state of Texas that other cities follow. We've one of the first to establish a registration program, setting up a contract with the platforms, and we face the challenges together when questions come up concerning the short-term rental industry. So as the night progresses here, as we get into the questions, we're going to probably get into some of the meat of the matter here a little bit more. But I just want to say thank you for having me this evening, and I'm looking forward to a very productive forum.
Thank you, Craig. Frank, if you could please answer the question and then introduce yourself. The question being, what is your long-term vision for the island and what steps would you take to achieve it?
I agree with everything Dr. Brown just said, but I'm going to pave streets. That's what I'm bringing to the table. We're going to pave streets. We're going to pave sidewalks. And, as thick as that short-term rental industry is, that's what you guys ought to be wanting to hear right now. That's it. My name is Frank Maceo. I'm running for mayor of my hometown, and I'm doing that specifically to pave streets and get our infrastructure money that we paid for back in 2017, and we're struggling to get those projects done. So that's what really motivated me to run. Go find my pump stations, go find my money for 37th Street, and to pave some sidewalks and some streets and some alleys and some curbs and take care of the business that cities ought to be taking care of. That's it.
Thank you, Frank. Your second question. Now, Frank, you'll be going first on this one. Craig, you'll be going second on this one. What do you believe are the most pressing infrastructure needs in Galveston, and how do you plan to address them?
So streets, once again, I've talked to almost 3,000 people, and the overwhelming number one issue in town for constituents is streets. And I'm pretty sure the money's there. If we go looking for it, it's just a matter of what do we want to prioritize. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to prioritize streets.
Thank you, Frank. Craig, do you need me to repeat the question?
Well, I think some of the important issues are our infrastructure. There's no doubt it needs to continue to stay our focus on infrastructure. It's not only streets, though, and we're moving ahead with a lot of street projects. We probably have more street projects than we've ever had in the history of this city going on. But drainage is probably one of the most important parts of infrastructure. We just finished a stormwater master plan. They presented it last week. It's going to be probably $300 to $500 million of investment in this island, but we need to make sure that we move forward with that. and we're doing that. We've got one pump station getting ready to start construction. We have another one in the design phase. We're working with the federal government, the state government. We need to keep our focus not only on infrastructure, but on the drainage situation, because in the future for our children and our children's children, drainage is going to be probably one of the most important issues.
Thank you very much, Craig. Our next question for tonight: what is your vision for short-term rentals and their role in the community?
Well, I think short-term rentals are, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, have played a vital role in the success of the city. And it's an industry, it's an economic engine that we need to continue to foster and work with and develop. I think we've had a good track record of the industry and the city working with council to come up with short-term rental industry standards so that we can move forward. Personally, I feel that we have some very good regulations in place. I think that we need to put a lot of attention now to enforcement of that. And we need to put a lot of attention to getting the data so that we know really what we're talking about. I still feel that a lot of the concerns that we run into with nuisance problems and other issues with short-term rentals is probably coming from a handful, a very small number of short-term rentals out there. And but we need to move forward. We need to work with the industry on that. We need to develop our data system so we can collect that. I personally have called for the staffs of the city and the park board to work together to come back and make a report on where we need to head with the regulations, if we have any, and where we need to go with enforcement for coming up in the future with the industry.
Thank you, Craig. Frank?
What was the question again? That was
The question is, what is your vision for short-term rentals and their role in the community?
so I don't really have a vision for short-term rentals. I think the free market's gonna dictate their existence, their participation, the number of them, the density of them. I don't necessarily have a vision for short-term rentals. Now I'll tell you this: we're gonna snatch as much money as we can through registration fees and hotel taxes, and we're gonna dump that money right back on your block where you got that short-term rental, where we're generating hotel taxes. So that's kind of the magic I'm gonna bring to the table right there.
Thank you, Frank. Next question. How do you propose sharing expenses associated with tourism across entities that benefit from tourism?
I don't understand the question. Repeat it, or I don't understand what you're getting at.
I'll repeat the question. How do you propose, I'll do a slight rephrasing. There are expenses associated with extra police force, extra wear and tear. There's expenses with the city with having the volume of visitors that Galveston has.
Okay.
How do you propose sharing those expenses, the ones associated with tourism, across entities that benefit from tourism?
Well, first, I think the short-term rental industry doesn't have the right kind of legislation as far as the way hotel taxes benefit short-term rentals. I think the legislation that we do have on the books right now is not focused on short-term rentals. It doesn't care about short-term rentals. That the legislation we have on the books right now is old. It's archaic. The short-term rental industry is a brand spanking new technology that I don't think the guys in Austin have caught up with. And I'm of the opinion that if we're generating hotel tax revenue in a neighborhood, man, I want that money to stay right where it got generated. And we can do that right now without changing any legislation. It just takes the will and having the right priorities. But I want to go a step further, and I want to work with you guys. I want to work with the Hotel Lodging Association, not only to update the hotel tax legislation as it stands right now, is specifically for Galveston to make it like Galveston's a special place. But I think the short-term rental industry needs some language in the hotel tax legislation as well. And I'm willing to go to Austin to go make that happen. I'm willing to go meet with with all the industries that will be affected and put together legislation that'll benefit Galveston under this new technology, which is the short-term rentals. Right now, I think it's archaic, and
Thank you.
yeah, is it time? That's time.
Yeah, sorry about that, Frank. I'm sorry. I thought you were ending your sentence.
I did.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Craig, same question.
I've always felt that no matter what the economic engine is here in Galveston, one of the best ways to make that more successful is to provide a quality of life for the residents and the individuals that are here on the island the best it can be. And we can use the tourism dollars to support that. A number of ways that we've done that in the past here recently. We've provided a tariff, and we got with the port on a tariff for all cruise passengers. We have a $1 per day per car for all cruise parking has brought in, and we're projecting probably in 2024, $3 million coming back from that. And the other is that in our IDC, our Industrial Development Corporation, about 50% of that sales tax that funds that corporation comes from visitors here on the island. And we're using that money for infrastructure improvements. We're using that money to improve our parks. We're using that money for a lot of different efforts that really adds to the quality of life for our residents. If we can provide a good quality of life for the residents on each block, including short-term rentals, then that will benefit short-term rentals. And we can use this hot tax, and we can use the sales tax to make that happen.
Thank you, Craig. Final question. What changes would you make to streamline processes between the park board and the city so that HOT tax enforcement happens in a timely manner?
Well,
Go ahead, Doc.
I think am I now up first?
You are,
Yeah.
Craig.
You know, that's a very, very good question. And that's something that was brought to council here about 3 meetings ago. We need to look at how we can streamline this whole process as it applies to short-term rentals here on the island and make the best use of the registration fees. I've always felt, and I've said that from the very beginning, the registration fees should not be just a fund that we're funding the city from. There should be an accounting for that money and how it's spent. We will have that accounting coming back to us at our May-June meeting for council to look at. And then we need to determine exactly where we stand with our registration fees and if they're appropriate or not, and if those need to be changed in any way. The short-term rental industry is a vital industry, but they should not be the funding agent for a lot of projects that the city does. They should be funded and have a registration fee that supports what we need to do with the short-term rental industry to make it more successful.
Thank you, Craig. Frank?
Yeah, all of that. I'm in the same position right now. I don't know if the rate's in the right spot or not. But man, I'm here to do capital projects, guys, is what I'm here to do. And every dollar I can scrape off of a registration fee or off a hotel tax fee or off a tariff at the port, man, I'm trying to do capital improvements with it. So that's my answer. Well, I'm gonna say it again. I got time. I want to do capital improvements with this money. I want to put that money right back out on your front lawn.
Thank you, Frank. All right, at this point, both candidates, please, you've got another 90 seconds for closing comments. Frank, you can go first this time.
We're going to pave streets y'all. We're gonna pave streets. We funded 37th Street a long time ago. It's not done. We funded it again just recently. We're gonna pave streets. That's what I'm here to do. All the other stuff y'all got going on at the city, I'm not here to change anything except for the priorities of your city, and that's taking care of streets, alleys, sidewalks, curbs, and drainage. And those are the important things that a city should be concerned about, and that's what I'm going to be concerned about as your next mayor.
Thank you, Frank. Craig?
Well, I wanted to thank you for having me this evening. I always enjoy being here. This is a very important election coming up. I think it's a decision among the constituents here on the island if they are comfortable with the way we have been progressing in the manner we've done it in the past, with the professionalism that we have been trying to maintain with the city and the allied groups in the community. If the citizens feel comfortable in moving that forward even more, this election is about that. It's a time also that I want to thank STROAG, and I mentioned that a little bit earlier. Every time we've had an issue come up with short-term rentals, members of your organization have stepped forward, given advice. And what I like about it is not advice that is just something that they are biased towards the short-term rental industry. They understand the importance of being a good community partner. And that's what it takes for a successful city to do well. We've done that in the past with STROAG, and I'm looking forward to continuing that. And if I'm honored to be elected, I'm going to be working as hard as I can to move this city forward.
Thank you, Craig. Thank you, both of you, for running for mayor and for spending some time with us tonight. Again, y'all are more than welcome to stay, and you're also more than welcome to go get a hot dinner, whichever y'all want to do. So thank y'all so much. At this point, we're going to move on to the district candidates. Now, district candidates, I have y'all organized by district, and I've got a little column for each question, introduction, and closing, and it should rotate within. I hope I've got it right. It was pretty tough math getting y'all all a fair shake of where you go. So if you see anything, please let me know. We are going to start with introductions this time. So at this point, I would like to ask, and we're going to go by district. So District 1, we have Councilwoman Sharon Lewis. Oh,
good evening. I think I'm unmuted now.
Yes.
Good evening to all. I'm Sharon B. Lewis, District 1 City Council member. Thank you for the invite. It's an honor to be here. It's an honor to serve the city of Galveston.
Thank you, Councilwoman Lewis. It's an honor to have you here. District 2, we have got 3 candidates. And we're going to start with Luke. Would you please pronounce your last name? I'm concerned I'm saying it wrong.
Bowman. It's a silent H, so it's like L. Luke Bowman.
Bowman. Very well. It's easy. I was making it harder.
Easy.
Luke, if you would please introduce yourself.
I'm Luke Bowman. I'm running for District 2, and I'm a small business owner here on the island. I've been in the insurance business, and I'm running to make a change for our district and our city, and to focus on transparency and bringing an attitude to the city of what we can do, not what we can't do. And we have to move forward and facilitate positive change in our culture and everything we do. And so that's why I'm running for the district for the city council seat.
Thank you, Mr. Bowman. Councilman Finkley.
Hi, I'm David Finkley. I'm the current city council member for District 2. And I'm running for re-election because it has been my honor to serve this community in this role. I've found that ever since my first campaign that I had really enjoyed the partnership with STROAG. Y'all reached out to me early on, helping provide good data and background information on the balance between short-term rentals, the benefit to the community, and I really appreciate that. My years of service on the City Council and Planning Commission have really given me a deep understanding of the community needs. And I've worked hands-on to address those challenges we face. from coastal resilience to infrastructure improvements to public safety. And I'm committed to representing every resident in District 2. Our district's diversity is its strength, and I strive to ensure that everyone's voice is heard. I'm responsive to community questions, and I'm transparent in those responses. Sometimes we get them resolved adequately. Sometimes there are long-term solutions that need to be done. Long-term, my focus is on sustainable growth, enhancing our quality of life, and maintaining a lower tax rate for our citizens and balancing the economic benefits of tourism with the quality of life of our residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Finkley. Mr. Morgan.
Hello, everyone. My name is Paul Morgan. First off, I want to thank STROAG so much. Thank you for this opportunity to speak and for everyone to hear a little bit more about me. So for me, I'm BOI, born here on the island. The reason why I'm running is that I have a great passion and a deep love for my city. I've seen so many great things over the past few years that have went on, and we have made tremendous growth here in the city. But I also feel like we're lacking in a few things of transparency when it comes to our roads, when it comes to certain things that I see that we are failing or lacking in, especially when it comes to our schools and the way that the city and our districts all need to be working hand in hand. The name of my campaign is set on one thing: bringing unity back to our community, meaning that we have so many different moving parts here in our city that sometimes one part forgets about the other. But all at the end of the day, we all need each other, and we all have a certain part that we play with each other. But if one is not being taken care of and one is seen lack of, then the other parts fail as well. And so for me, I believe that we have a well-oiled machine here in Galveston, but sometimes it can squeak. So for me, I want to be that lubricant that keeps it going. So my background is in the oil and gas industry. My transparency is that sometimes that I do see the things that we have going on, especially in District 2 with the road repairs. A lot of times we have zero transparency from our city, but sometimes that's a lack of the knowledge of. My background is actually developing and doing those things right there where I actually get hands-on. And so I'm the type of person that can actually go to the work site and know exactly what needs to be done, what is lacking, and where the skills are still needing to be done. So I want to come as to be an asset to the city of Galveston. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Morgan. We're going to move on to District 3. We're going to start with Bob Brown.
Okay, hang on one second. Let's see. I'm sorry. Let me get my screen in the right place. Okay. Thank you, Anna. I'm Bob Brown, and I'm running for City Council to represent District 3. I grew up in Galveston and have lived in District 3 in the Eastern Historic District for over 23 years. I'm an architect and a planner and retired from the Department of Facilities Port Management at UTMB, where we managed all 9 million square feet of space, the design of major capital projects, and the UTMB master plan that strategically guides its growth and drives large-scale projects. I have a long and solid foundation of public service on the island, from chair of the first Landmark Commission, vice chair of the Planning Commission, and president of the GHF Board of Directors and crew on Tall Ship Alyssa and more. I've demonstrated my commitment to making Galveston a place. 3 District 3 council representatives agree and are endorsing me. One went on to be the mayor. I support better communications and collaboration between major stakeholders in Galveston, like the city has started to do with the Parks Board and the port. I think we can do something similar with the tourism industry. To borrow from Tony Lyle of Visit Galveston, he said, "Balance is the key here. Building on an economic engine fueled by tourism without alienating, jeopardizing the island's year-round appeal for residents." That's so true. We need to work on this balance because it goes to the heart of so many other pressing issues that I'm concerned with: the growing tourist industry, workforce and middle-class housing for people who work in that industry, generating the city revenue, public safety, and protecting the quality of life for the residents, to name a few. This kind of forum for collaboration can build trust between residents, the tourism industry, while we begin to solve many other issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Jeff, if you could please introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for having us on, and I'm honored to be here. My name is Jeff Eric, and I'm running for District 3. I'm a small business owner also. I employ about 15 to 20 people on the island. I have a diverse background. I spent 16 years in the military, 10 years in the corporate world, and the last 15 years as an entrepreneur here on the island. I live in the East End. I originally was at 16th and Ball and owned a historic home, and now I'm at 24th and Church. And anybody that knows the Harry Rice building, that's where I'm at. I'm running because I want to see Galveston to be the place that I think it can be. I think we are heading in the right direction, but I want to see more of it. I want to see a responsible development. I want to see and help the tourism industry grow. I want to see responsible short-term rental action. And I'd like to see us work better hand in hand with the different entities, the Wharfs Board, the Parks Board, and the city.
Thank you, Jeff. We're going to move on. Oh, I didn't cut you off, did I?
No.
Oh, good. We're going to move on to District 4. Mike?
Yeah, thanks. Good evening. I'm Mike Bouvier, your District 4 City Councilman. Through the journey of building Hey Mikey's Ice Cream, I've learned firsthand what it takes to succeed in the Galveston's unique landscape. My goal is to continue to use this experience to foster a thriving business-friendly community here in our city. As your councilman, I have a proven track record of identifying issues and actively resolving them with practical solutions. It's about making a real positive change. My heart lies in serving our community, advocating for policies that uplift every resident's safety, education, and overall well-being. It's about creating a Galveston that helps to uplift us all. I want a Galveston that grows sustainably, where the public service are enhanced and our local economy booms, benefiting all who call this beautiful island home. My door is always open to you, and I will listen to and act upon our constituents' concerns and a strong voice for our community. My vision for Galveston is clear. I want a city that grows responsibly, values every resident, and upholds quality of life that makes us proud to call it home. Galveston isn't just where I live, it's where my heart is. My commitment to this city and its people is unwavering. For me, it's more than just politics. It's about ensuring a bright future for our children, grandchildren, right here in Galveston. Thank you.
Thank you. Alex?
My name is Alex Pareto. I'm running for District 4. My family's been here for over 140 years. I'm a fourth-generation Galvestonian. I got 2 degrees from A&M Galveston. One is my master's in coastal resource management. I'm running because we really need a strong representation on council, not only for the whole city, but for District 4 as well. I'm running on community collaboration and commitment. I want to, find alternative revenue sources to help alleviate the tax base and benefit residents. We need to benefit more from tourism, and not just residents. The great thing about STROAG is most of your members live on the island as well. And the more benefits that we can get from the tourism industry overall, we all have a better quality of life. You have a better product for your short-term rentals. Collaboration is I think it's key, and we're lacking a lot of that in the city. When we do these street projects, when we do, they're building a pump station behind my house. I want to make sure those projects work. That's the kind of collaboration we need. We need town halls. We need to come together with our citizens, and we need a good liaison, which that's what a council person is. It's supposed to be a liaison between the city and the residents, and I want to fill that role. And again, the commitment, this is the whole reason why I'm running. I'm giving my commitment that I'm going to do these things, and I have done these things before, and I'm continuing to do these things while I'm running, and just building relationships, and overall just making a general strong commitment, not only to the city, but to the citizens and businesses of Galveston that are generally the lifeblood for everybody. So, looking forward to answering some of these questions, and thank you.
Thank you. We're going to move on to District 5. Michael?
All right, thank you guys. anybody who's met me knows I've had throat surgery. So if you guys can't hear me, raise your hand and I'll speak up. My name is Michael Niebuhr. I'm running for District 5 Council. Like many of you guys, Galveston's home to me. Galveston's home to me because I was born and raised here. I grew up here. I was a child. And when I look at Galveston now and look at Galveston when I was a child, I've seen the good and the bad that's come from the change we've had. And I want to continue that aspect of the good things that have developed from Galveston as a child. I think the biggest problem we have now is we are losing that sense of community, that sense of family in Galveston. Our numbers have gone down, our school numbers have gone down, and we need our families to be able to live here, grow here, and raise the next generation. I think everybody who's from Galveston can attest to that we want the next generation here, and everybody who's, you can say new or 15, 20, 18, 5 years. I think we'll all agree that the next generation of Galvestonians is more important than our current generation. And I think everything that we do, I want to do, and I think anybody on council should want to do, is to promote what's good for the next generation, not for ourselves. And that's what I plan on doing. Thank you.
Thank you. Bo?
Hello again. Thanks for sponsoring this. Bo Rollins. I'm running for District 5 City Council. I'm a small business owner, both active in a construction company here in Galveston for the last 22 years. And I've also owned several bars here in Galveston. Some of y'all might have remembered Bubba's or Old Galveston Club. And currently I have 10 Cups there on the West End. I'm a lifelong Galvestonian. My family actually immigrated here in the 1870s, and my 2 grandkids are now the 9th generation born in succession in a row in Galveston. So I'm very proud of that. Of course, the BOI is always dependent on who you are. But again, I'm just proud of the history of the family here in Galveston, which allows me to have a good sense of what things have been like, what things are, and what they can become. I'm running as a very transparent candidate. I plan on being very independent and responsive with my actions. I too want to use the word that Alex used, which is collaborate. I wanted to create a bridge of providing, a sense of team between not only all of the different arms of our city government, but also in combination with our school district. I served 9.5 years on the school board here at GISD in Galveston. And that was it was an honor to do so. And I really felt like I made a difference. And I really feel like I can bridge that gap that we have as far as between the city and the school district. These kids of Galveston are very important, not only now, but in our future. I have been...
Oh, I'm so sorry, but we got the double closer flashing.
That's all good. Thank you.
I've got to be like the...
You got the gist of it. Thank you.
Yes, sir. And thank you so much. We appreciate your being here. And our final introduction will be Marie Robb.
Hi. I'm going to start out by saying I'm going to do an introduction, try to cover the questions fast because I'm sitting in Gothway, Texas with a group of friends. So I apologize that I am not going to make the whole night tonight, but I'm Marie Robb, and I'm honored to be running unopposed. And the reason that I ran, the reason that I'm running is because I care about the people. All the people, not just District 6, as council members like to joke with me and say, will you stop talking about your district? But I believe when you're elected to serve your district, you work for the people. It's the people are the most important thing in Galveston. And I take this job very seriously. When it comes to short-term rentals, it's interesting. We've had a different trend this year than what we've had in the past. January and February, I think, were the last numbers I've received. And short-term rentals were representing about 53 to 58% of our hot tax, and they're currently about 38% of our hot tax. So I definitely support short-term rentals, but I think we need to make sure that in supporting them, we need to make sure we protect our neighborhoods as well. One of the things that I'm hoping we can get changed in the next year is, and this happened before I was on council, is they changed the minimum lot size in the urban neighborhoods to 2,500. And I think we saw an influx of outsiders come in and build it was sold as making more affordable housing, but I think it actually came across that outsiders buying short-term rentals. And now we're seeing a lot of those properties go out for sale. But I'm here to serve the city as well as my district. My district holds, I think, perhaps 50-some% of the short-term rentals. So it's something we are always conscious of.
Marie, I'm so sorry. I've got to cut you off. The 00 has been up for quite some time now. I'm so
okay.
sorry.
Well, you cut off, so I couldn't see you. So
yeah. Winter is our timekeeper.
Gotcha.
So thank you very much. All right, we're going to go on to the questions. We're going to start now with District 2, David Finkley. If you could please lead us off. What is your long-term vision for the island, and what steps would you take to achieve it?
My long-term vision for the island is to make sure that we enhance the quality of life for our residents through appropriate investment in public safety, and then also through pedestrian safety as well. And then also balancing out the economic benefit that we have with tourism and helping to maintain a lower tax rate for our residents. And steps that we can do to do that through collaboration with both the park board and the wards board. I think we take a really good look about where those monies are being invested currently and see if there are other opportunities for investment. Recently, I got data from GPD on who is committing crime on the island. And the numbers that I got, these were 6 months ago. I need to get them updated. They stated that 80% of the crimes are being committed by non-residents. Now, I want to make sure you hear that. That is non-residents. That does not mean tourists. But what that means is our citizens are paying an undue burden of the enforcement. And so we need to take a hard look at where this occurs and how to improve and help to keep reducing that tax rate. I think the economic benefit of the port is they have done a great job with the 4 terminals they've got now. The next challenge will be finding out how to do the highest and best future economic development projects at the port while maintaining their diversity in product offering.
Thank you so much, David. Hey, I just want to take a moment of privilege super quick. Everybody can see Winter, right? Y'all are doing a great job on the time. Just want to make sure everybody has an eye on her.
I can't see her.
Okay, you know what? Since you can't see her, Luke, I will jump in.
I can do it. I got her now. I just slid my screen to see everybody.
Yeah, just make sure she's got the hardest job here. Thank you, David, so much. Paul, if you could please answer the same question. Oh, Paul, you're muted.
Unmute myself. Okay, same thing. I want to apologize to Winter. I didn't slide my screen over to see her, but I promise you I got you this time. Some of the things that I see that I want to go forth in Galveston, like I said, one is to working together as a community. 2 is seeing industrial jobs here on the island to create, because through our work through Vision Galveston, that we've seen that it is a big influx in where the income in homes are met, where we need residents to make more income so they can survive. Right now, our basic income is less than $1,650 here on the island. So we do need better jobs and better acquisitions. One thing was also to lower the taxes. Right now, our Texas windstorm is through the roof, and then our flood insurance is sky high. There's certain things that we can do through the city to help with these offset. These certain things are giving back to the citizens in certain ways that I know that the city can do if we put our mind to it. Next thing is our homeless population. We have a huge, large homeless population here, and a lot of people are dropped off at our hospitals in different places. And I know that we used to have transits that used to take people back to different areas. That's something that I would like to reinforce, and also to looking back over our different policies with our law enforcement and seeing where can we help our law enforcement here in the city to keep us safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. We have up next Luke.
Yes, thank you. So my vision for Galveston really is based on four things, which is safe and secure neighborhoods, responsible business growth, welcoming tourist environment, and accountability and transparency. So basically, safe and secure neighborhoods just mean that that's the table stakes that even Frank was referring to. We must do that. We must make sure our police and our fire are properly funded. They have the tools they need, the training they need to make sure we keep our neighborhoods safe. And we need to really make sure we focus on that. And then the responsible business growth is being a small business owner. It's important that we understand that small businesses are our friends. They're our neighbors. My District 2 is loaded with businesses, and the people own businesses. They live in the neighborhood. They work in the neighborhood. In right in our area, you could get your car worked on, you get a haircut, you get plumbing done, air conditioning, go to the restaurants, everything you could do, accomplish right in District 2. So we have to understand the importance of it's not business against residents or residents against business. We are all the same. So we need to promote strategies that do that. And then accountability and transparency. We have to be transparent on everything we do. We can't have meetings that aren't sanctioned or don't have open records laws or open meeting laws that apply to when we're discussing city business. We have to do everything in official capacity and in a very, very transparent capacity in order for the residents to trust what we do and believe in the vision that we're putting forward.
Thank you. We're going to move on to District 3. Jeff?
Sorry about that. My platform has been drainage and infrastructure, safe neighborhoods, supporting the law enforcement and fire department. I think as more and more tourists come to the island, we had 8 million last year, and who knows what it's going to be this year. That's taken a toll on the men and women that do that job. And I take it to heart. I really think it's important to make sure that we support all of them, not only from a financial standpoint, but also to make sure that they have the materials and the equipment they need as well. I'm also a big proponent of better customer service from the city towards our citizens. And I think that's lacking. I've dealt personally with the city for the last 15 years. I'm not saying it's terrible, but it's definitely lacking. And it feels like we are here to serve the city versus the other way around. And I'd like to see that paradigm shift change. And then I'd also like to see us improve our relationship with the different boards, the Lord's Board and the Park Board. We've all talked about that tonight. I think that's a very important subject, and I think we're moving towards that. And then lastly, beautification of our neighborhoods. And I'd love to see something go along Broadway. And I'd like to, in my district, help the Strand even more.
Thank you. Bob?
Okay. Long-term vision for the island, I think this has been said a few times here, protect the quality of life on this island and be sure for families and others who love the island life I think to do that, we're going to have to control costs. We have to continue to generate the revenue we need, maintain the island so we can deal with the storms that are going to come, and protect our natural resources that people love, and to maintain the infrastructure that serves the residents. Like tracking that Ike Dike that's somewhere out there. Even the STROAG website said its values is neighborhood revitalization through renovation and historic preservation, and I couldn't agree more. To achieve all this, we're going to have to be inclusive and collaborative with all our stakeholders in every one of these initiatives, like we're already doing with the park board and the tourism industry. Make sure everybody has a voice when it comes to decision making, so we're all fair and equitable on everything we do.
Thank you. We're going to go ahead and move on to District 4. Alex?
My long-term vision for the island is job growth, tourism development, meaning longer-term stays, a better high-value tourist. Port development adds into the job growth and industry growth as well. Ultimately, I believe residents need to benefit more from tourism, finding those alternative revenue sources. With that being said, with those alternative revenue sources, we can fix these long-standing issues with like our police and fire and pay these unfunded liabilities, change some pension put-in rates. Young people find Galveston attractive, but it's not affordable. So being able to add those alternative revenues, we can bring down, lower the tax base, make it more affordable for young people to live here. And my biggest thing is focusing on better collaboration between city and the residents. If we do that, we can do these projects that can succeed. We can make regulations that work for everybody. Some people don't like self-regulation, but ultimately I think business owners who are willing to play the game and residents that are willing to play the game, we can all have a better product and outcome for everybody involved in the system. So that's kind of my long-term vision in 90 seconds.
Thank you. I wish I had 5 minutes for each one of y'all. Mike?
Yeah, thank you. One of my first ones is safety and the quality of life for our residents. I've supported last term was to support our first responders and everything they needed and back them all the way. The other one is responsible growth of our island. Making sure that we're not overwhelming our island with too many developments. Maybe diversifying into lower cost of living for entry families and teachers to have an equal opportunity to own a house here on the island. Unity is the unity between the park board, the city, and the port. There's a lot of overlapping between those entities. I can see where most of the advertising could be handled by the park board that the port needs, and working with the park board, the port could boost their sales for cruises. Transparency is a large thing that I need to work on with the city. I think the park board just revamped a lot of what they were doing, and they're more transparent with their budget now as the city council reviews their budget and approves it. The infrastructure of our city, the streets, the roads, and the storm drains is the other thing that we need to coordinate. Thank you.
Thank you, Bo. Michael?
So that was Michael. You're looking for Bo, I think.
Oh goodness, I did y'all backwards. I apologize. My carefully worded notes here. I'm so sorry. Yes.
Just to confirm, you're looking for Bo right now, not me.
I'm so sorry. District 5, I'm looking for Bo.
Here we go. So long-term vision for Galveston. I feel like we've been very blessed with all the opportunities that we have, and I want to capitalize on those opportunities. We have many things that we're working on. I feel like in the past we've always worried about funding and how we're going to pay for those projects that we as citizens have always envisioned. I think we have finally come to identify with the means of how those capital improvement projects are going to be funded. We now just need to make the most of it, and I'm hoping that those improvements create a sense of pride and create a community that Galvestons are proud to show off. And I hope that overall that's the vision that we follow through on.
Thank you, Bo. Michael?
Thank you. Yeah. My long-term vision for Galveston is when I think of being on council for 2 years, and if I'm lucky enough to be on even for 6 years, it's we need to be looking way beyond that, and we don't need to make decisions for the short term. We need to look at the next generation, the generation after that, and after that, and we need to find out plans now to affect that, because we're at a tipping point in Galveston. We're a small island. We don't have, a long-term business plan of just to develop and getting more tax revenue. That way, like some larger municipalities have. So I think we need to be looking at ways to benefit those who live here, who want to live here, and I live by the motto that what's good for residents is good for tourists, and it's not the other way around. We need to be putting all of our efforts into what's good for Galveston residents. That's got to be first and foremost, and honestly, second and third and foremost. That has to be, when we think of our long-term strategy, everything we do needs to go into residents, and any small business on the island that's focused on that, that I've talked to, has that same support, because they benefit from that, and at the end of the day, tourists eventually will as well.
Thank you. We're going to move on to District 6. Marie Robb. Is Marie still here?
I think she said she was leaving after that initial answer.
Yeah, she said she was. Yeah. All right, then we'll move on all the way back to District 1. Sharon Lewis. Oh, you're on mute.
What's the question?
It's the same question. We've shuffled down. Sharon, you've got your mic on.
Stay muted. Am I unmuted?
You're good.
Hello.
You
Okay.
got it.
Now, yes, because I've listened. So I need you to go back and ask me the question again.
Oh, of
Repeat
course.
it. Thank
What
you.
is your long-term vision for the island, and what steps would you take to achieve it?
My long-term vision for Galveston Island is to continue. My key word when I first joined council was collaboration. And that's a very bad habit that I have, trying to talk through things and talk things out. I ran on love, which is leadership, opportunity, vision, and equality, and I continue to do that because we have to be able to have that unity, that collaboration that not makes us agree, but have us to disagree in a very respectful manner and listen to other ideas. My vision is that we continue the collaboration. I like the idea of the collaborating of the park board and the port. I like the idea that the city is considering repackaging some things like events and advertisement, infrastructure. I grew up on Ball Street, and I've never seen Ball Street paved. Infrastructure is needed. We know that on this island. So my vision is to improve economically, to improve physically the streets, and also to bring about some strong collaboration that improves our island. We have a unique opportunity, Galveston. There's no place like Galveston.
Thank you very much. We're going to go on now to the second question, and this time we're going to start with District 3. Bob, you'll be leading us off on this. What do you believe are the most pressing infrastructure needs in Galveston, and how do you propose addressing them?
Okay. I think the most pressing infrastructure need here is what we require is to maintain our island resilience, and infrastructure helps us do that. I think we need to continue to track this Ike Dike project, but more importantly, I think we need to focus and make sure we carry out the drainage master plan that the city has before us. It's going to be inconvenient to a lot of people, but in the end, it's going to keep us above water, I think. Well, we also need to maintain our CRS control insurance and make sure that the city has got the best infrastructure they can to resist any kind of hurricane coming. So in the end, I think tracking that drainage project and maintaining our streets is probably the infrastructure needs we have to maintain our long-term resilience.
Thank you, Bob. Jeff?
Yeah, I mean, going along with Bob said, I have to agree. You know, drainage and infrastructure is really important, but I also think that taking care of our sidewalks, walkability of the neighborhoods, if we do have sidewalks down there, but in my district, in the Strand, and this area is really important. Lighting, cleanliness, I think is another big thing. And you know, just beautification of this whole area. One of the things that I've always said and I believe in is that when we have tourists come to the island, they expect a little bit more, and I think that we should rise up to that. And what I mean by that is taking care of our sidewalks, taking care of our landscaping, taking care of our curbs, so it is beautiful when people come here.
Thank you. Moving on to District 4, Mike.
Yeah, thank you. So infrastructure wise, I know we've hit the drainage and the roads, but we got to make sure we do those together. We have two master plans. We have a drainage master plan and we have a road master plan now that has driven our roads. It was a study done by driving the roads and finding the worst roads and grading the roads from the very worst to roads that could be maintained in the condition that they are. At the same time, underneath that road is your drainage. And so we need to make sure that those two are going to do, or they're going to perform those simultaneously, because there's no sense of doing a road and then coming back, digging it back up, and then putting the drainage underneath it. There's another one that we haven't talked about yet, is cellular service. When the island is very populated and we have many tourists or an event on the island, I've noticed that our cell services go to nothing. Like, you can't get a bar, you can't get a dial out. We need to work with our cellular services and start creating a better network, a stronger network for our community, for the safety of our residents. Thanks.
Thank you. Alex?
So the pressing infrastructure needs, I mean, all over the island are roads. I mean, I'm sure we've all hit potholes or, you know, the concrete, you know, rubble that is patched over. But in my district specifically, I think drainage is going to be the big pressing issue. You know, I mentioned it before, we have a pump station going behind our house. And one of the things that was, you know, horrifying for my fiance and other neighbors of mine is the lack of communication between the city and the residents. And, you know, I think that needs to be improved. You know, we have a 45th Street, it's flooding pretty badly. And to tie it all in, you know, we have to do a big, instead of patchworking, I think if we're a little more honest about what needs to be done, that would be better. You know, I met with the city and, you know, we have stormwater going to, not stormwater, water from the bay going all the way to you in 45th Street. So, you know, being honest and open about, hey, we have these problems, we have these longstanding issues. When we do roads, we have, you know, trolley tracks or kerosene tanks, and making sure that the contractors are aware of those issues and that they can remediate those quickly, so we have, you know, just a better working product when we do these projects. I think that's going to be the key for, you know, making infrastructure work for everybody.
Thank you, Alex. We're going to move on to District 5. Michael?
Thank you. Yeah, infrastructure is important to me. My literal career, my job is working with local coastal communities to improve their infrastructure, particularly with coastal flooding. So when this question comes up, I get it. I know what we're dealing with. I know that Galveston, like most coastal communities, are not like every other community in Texas, and we're dealing with issues that everybody else is not. And we see it. The residents see it, and I think the problem that the residents have is they see the coastal flooding issues and they're not sure that the city agrees. And I think the long-term strategy is the city understands the issues, but there's a communication barrier. We need to be explaining to our residents in my district and all over the island, when we do projects, they're multi-phase projects. We see 45th Street here along my district that spent years redoing Avenue S. That's been years redoing, and the flooding's worse. And it's not because it was done wrong. It's because we have multiple steps, and we've got to be able to talk to the community and let everybody know that, well, what we're doing is working in the long run, is gonna work in the long run. We need to explain to people that maybe we didn't do it right in the short term, and I think that's where we need to be better at bringing it up and saying, hey, this is what we're doing and this is why we're doing it.
Thank you. Bo?
You know, our biggest thing, like this is our way of giving back to both the citizens and the people that visit our community. You know, we need to have pride in our infrastructure first off, and we need to have, you know, infrastructure is our ability to show off what we have, and lately we haven't been able to show it off real well. You know, I really think about three things as far as the overall state of our infrastructure repair. You know, first off, we have to finish what we started. You know, I know that we have steps to take for the next projects, but we have to finish what we have going. I want to make sure that we do a better job of holding the contractors that have been awarded these projects, hold them accountable a lot better than what I think we've been able to do. And most importantly, and I concur with a couple of the candidates here, that, you know, we've got to do a better job of communication to a point of exhaustive communication. You know, I think we just rely on residents just, you know, trying to find to try to find the facts or research projects when we should be inundating them with information that tells them exactly, you know, what's going to go on, when it's going on, and give them a sense of when we're going to finish it, instead of us always as citizens just wondering. So that's how I'd look to attack that.
Thank you, Bo. We're going to go ahead and swing back around to District 1. Sharon Lewis.
Well, I'm going to ask you to repeat that question.
Absolutely. It's been a little while since you've heard it.
Yes.
What do you believe are the most pressing infrastructure needs in Galveston, and how do you propose to address them?
Again, I think it might have been Bouvier who mentioned the reports that have been given to us on infrastructure, drainage, and streets, and how they order the repair of the streets. And I heard someone else mention how we need to be transparent to let the public know this is how it is decided whether or not a street would be repaired. So I think that information, we need to do better at getting that out to the people. The drainage is critically important. So I would continue collaboration again, being transparent and knowing that this is something that has to be done to improve the island for residents here and for tourists to come. And I will always say Galveston has a very unique opportunity here. And one of those is to improve the infrastructure. So.
Thank you. And we're going to finish up with District 2. We'll start with Paul with this question.
All right. Okay. So let me jump into this very quickly. I want to piggyback off something that Mike said that was very Very, very important. It's doing the same work twice. I said something, knowing and doing are two different things. If you are knowing that you have a drainage issue, but then you put forth the effort to pave the road, but you're still having drainage issues, then you have to go back and do it all over again. You're really defeating the purpose. I feel like we need to do it right the first time. The things that happen on 45th Street should not happen, should not ever happen again. And I think that we learn from those situations. I also too believe that we need to put more money in our roads, also too in the opportunity zones, especially in District 1 and different other places like that, that there's still work that has not been completed yet. Like I said, the transparency, the most things that I get from my people in our community is that when work is being done, that no one is telling them when is this going to start and when it's going to end. I think that's something very minor that our community is asking for. And I think if we work together just to give them a little bit of that, it will stop a lot of things that are happening. One thing is that we are here for STROAG. STROAG, as you know, for the short-term rentals, that when we think about this infrastructure, if there's flooding and someone is renting a facility or place, that when they come there, the last thing that they're going to know is that, hey, this home that I'm renting for the weekend is actually in a flood area. And that I might be trapped here for the weekend, not able to get to the beach because I have to wait for the water to drain. So this does not just affect us, but affects everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Luke?
Yeah, I'm not going to rehash all the drainage stuff because I think everybody made it pretty clear, and I feel the same with them, that it's just, priorities that we have to get done, and we have to be transparent about it. But there are some little things that we can do on our infrastructure, and always the answer is, oh, we don't have the money or we don't have that. But you know what? It's about leadership when it comes to these kind of things, because you could get a lot done with a can of paint, a power washer, and a weed eater, and that doesn't take a lot of money. And when you look in our district, you look at the curbs that are crumbling and they just need a coat of paint, restriping the bike lanes, which makes it look pretty and makes it's safer, things like that. You go down to the Strand, power wash the streets, repaint the lines. That's other after the beachfront. The Strand is where, is one of our most beautiful gems. Yet if you walk down there and you look around, you go, well, why can't we just take care of the littles? And I think that comes down to be leadership at the city council level to say, no, it's not acceptable. We will do these things. This is the direction we're giving, and we expect them to get done, and we hold them accountable for it. And those kind of things alone will get a lot of things moving in the right direction. And you got to realize the island is a four-legged stool. It's got tourists, it's got residents, and it's got businesses. Somebody said something just about not doing only things for residents. Hey, if we don't do things for tourists and it hurts businesses, it hurts residents, because our residents are our business owners. If we do things just for residents that could hurt our businesses, that doesn't do good because it could hurt our tourism. So we have to understand we have a three-legged stool on this island, and we can't pull one of them out and expect the stool to stay standing.
Thank you, Luke. David? Oh, David, you're on mute.
I got it. I kind of feel privileged that you're ending with me because, infrastructure has been my entire life. I own a small business focusing on construction project management for owners. I'm a civil engineer and urban planner. I put together a $210 million capital improvement plan for Uptown Houston, which now 20 years later, you can see in its full development centered around the Galleria area in Houston. We've talked about the pavement management plan and the drainage master plan, and both of these are very timely and valuable inputs into creating a capital improvement plan. That's where you set the priorities for what you're going to be doing in the future. And more importantly, that's great input into the upcoming comprehensive plan update, an effort that I got off high center after not having been updated for 13 years, probably about 3 years overdue. And this is vitally important to the community because that will allow us to make zoning changes that will help the community define what Galveston looks like in the future. I would say the other really important one that's affecting my district, as District 2 has the most seawall linear footage than any other district. And that's going to be a seawall, beach access, and parking master plan. Removing parking spaces in front of emergency access ramps to the beach, clearing back parking spaces from intersections, adding new traffic signals along and improving pedestrian safety crossing the intersection. And while we have leveraged federal and state funds effectively, which avoids unnecessary tax burden on our residents and enhancing our city's resilience, we need to absolutely continue to maximize that investment of the federal and state funds to keep our tax rate low.
Thank you, David. Question number 3, what is your vision for short-term rentals and their role in the community? And we're going to start with District 4. Alex, could you lead us off?
So the data is there for STRs. I think, I mean, we've heard that we need more data, but you know, the bad apples create the problem for the industry. Better enforcement is necessary, but you know, we had that $250 registration fee, and through my research, I looked at it, and it was $150 that was going to cover the cost, and we went with $250. So you know, people are worried about it. Only in District 5 is it growing, the number of STRs in their community, and you know, the market forces have kind of tamped down on the STRs. You know, in my district, we lost 23. It was like 202 to 170 something. And, you know, some people got into it late, but, you know, I think enforcement of the bad apples is my vision for STRs. You know, you don't really get the people that come down here to visit the island in a hotel. You know, they're gonna go to the shop, stores, everything. And so are the people in the STRs, but they're gonna get a more sense of community in Galveston. You know, I'm sure everybody that puts I go to this restaurant, and it's like, it's tailored fit for how the person who really owns that and operates that short-term rental operates with other businesses, and it gives them their own like little piece of Galveston. I think you're going to get more people to want to live here through STRs than you are hotels. So I think kind of just let things be and listen to, you know, organizations like you guys, and just kind of guide the ship where we're going already. I don't see any need for increased fees. I don't see anything that's pressing except, you know, enforcement on the bad apples.
Thank you, Alex. Mike?
Yeah, thanks. So what I see for the role of STRs in the community is we have a bunch of ordinances that are written all over the place. And what we need is to create a committee that has short-term rental owners. And then we also need to have some residents on there. We need to have some liaison city council members and people from the city to create the ordinances together that will help the SDRs be more efficient and understand the rules, and also will inform the residents about the STRs and unify those two together. To me, it seems like it's an us and them. It's the residents against the short-term rentals. Well, with more information and them being involved with the process of developing the SDR ordinances, that's going to create that. I used to have a house on the West End, and before these were called SDRs 12 years ago, my wife and I had them all around us, and we made some of our strongest friends today from these STRs, and we are still in contact with them. It's an amazing experience to have a short-term rental by you, because these people come back year after year to these places. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. We're going to go on to District 5. Bo?
So first off, you know, short-term rentals here on the island, they make up 53% of our accumulation of our hot tax, which to me is a very great reason to focus on them and to have a vision for them. I feel it's very important to basically allow the free market to you know, create what the outcome is. Those operators that are doing things first class and doing well with their business, they have, you know, return customers year after year. They are self-policed. You know, there's not a real big need for an enforcement of those operators, and the ones that do it incorrectly and don't do a good job at it, the market pretty much takes care of itself. You know, I feel like there's no need to create additional rules to be enforced. If anything, we should just enforce what we have currently on the board. You know, I think that if I look at me individually, most of my construction business is based off remodeling. And I have been a great partner with several of those short-term rental owners to create, what they are wanting to present in each of their homes that they have there. And, that provides for my family and my home. So it's a great partnership. I want to continue that, and I want to continue to support those owners that are doing it right in every way I can.
Thank you, Bo. Michael?
Thank you. Yeah, I'm gonna go a different route on this short-term rentals. I want to remind everybody that I don't have a connection to short-term rentals on the island. So any of the decision that I make as a council member is not for myself and the benefit of me. So I look at the island as a whole. I think of the island and my concern is oversaturation. I know several owners in my district because District 5 actually has a very few amount of short-term rentals, but there are some owners in my district, and their concern is the abuse of other rentals and other owners. When I look at this, I look at it as a small business ownership partnership, and I want it to be a prominent local business-owned entity in Galveston, and I think all too often we see the opposite. I think we see outside investments who don't have that real island understanding. I think those of us who live here and understand Galveston know what Galveston means, and outside entities don't have that. I think the enforcement's the problem. We have outside entities who don't enforce it internally, in which case the enforcement goes on to our infrastructure, and our city is burdened and our taxpayers are burdened by the enforcement. So I think we need to look locally and find out how can we limit that. And I don't think the free market is the way to do it. I think the city has to step in and say we need to support small and local businesses first and foremost.
Thank you, Michael. We're going to go on to back to District 1. Sharon Lewis.
Okay, I know we're talking about short-term rentals. And there is the fee. What I would like to see, the fee not increase, but I'd like to see that fee be placed in a special bucket that can be used to pay your extra security. We always hear, and Marie Rob says you have far west to go if there's an incident or anything that occurs. Then they have a distance to go, so it's taking police officers and kind of rearranging and moving them around. So I think that fee should go for extra police officers for the proper, continuing to search for that proper software that will actually get the data or the data out there that we're looking for to enhance and improve. And thirdly, in that bucket, I think it should be something special to help improve the neighborhoods where those short-term rentals are located. I don't know, something that's just outside the box that will make Galveston a little bit different. When you hear short-term rentals here, it could be an award for the best improved short-term rental or the most rentees this month or whatever, but just something a little different. So short-term rentals do bring in high tax dollars. And again, that's someone referred to something as a three-legged stool. I like that because it is business, it's residents, and it's visitors who come to the short-term rental. So for me, short-term rentals on the fee is important, and I think it should be used for those things I mentioned.
Thank you, Sharon. We're going to come back to District 2 now. Luke, if you could lead us off.
Yeah, I currently don't really have a big issue with the short-term rentals because I think I think they're operating as they are. I hear words about oversaturation, but we saw what's happened is the market forces will unsaturate when you're oversaturated because people won't hit their business models. They won't make the returns they expected. And those houses will go back into the long-term rental pool, or they might even go into sell for somebody to come in, and live in it full time. I'm not much for any more regulation and rules, but you guys, STROAG, you guys are the the industry experts there. If you come begging us to give you more rules and regulations, I mean, I guess we'd have to consider it, but I just don't see where it needs it. I mean, I live over here at 18th and K. I have some beautiful short-term rentals real close to me, and you know, they're well taken care of. They're fun to talk to when they come in for the weekends, and we do give them suggestions for things to do. Plus, we have they're only occupied maybe 20 something weeks out of the year on weekends. So a lot of times it serves as overflow parking for residents when there's a house that there's nobody parking at, because we only have street parking here. So I think it's part of life down here. It's part of life in resort towns. And I think we're doing a really good job, and we need to let the system work. And we don't need to start creating solutions that are looking for a problem. We just need to deal with the situations as they come up and enforce what we have. There are noise ordinances. I'm looking at my clock. I don't have it up there. There's noise ordinances. There's all kind of zero. So let's let the system work. Let the market forces run this thing, and you guys keep doing a good job and keep us informed when you need something.
Thank you, Luke. I appreciate all y'all being so good about the time also. David.
You know, I have the honor of being on the front line with understanding the current condition of regulation and enforcement of STRs. As I mentioned earlier, STROAG reached out to me early on when I got elected and helped talk to me about what was important to your owners, operators, and platforms. When I saw the city council wrestling with what to focus on first with STRs, I took the initiative to go ahead and create the STR task force, which is a collaboration of STR stakeholders, those affected by the regulations, and 2 council members that have the greatest quantity of STRs in their district, Councilmember Rob and myself. The registration fee that we have now is in market and doesn't need to be touched. Our goal on the task force is to identify improvements in registration data integrity, registration and enforcement processes. We're not advocating for new enforcements. One of my major priorities is resource allocation, and that is having the right people doing the right thing at the right time. The task force is coordinating with city legal to help consolidate and clarify the code of ordinances that are applicable to STRs, making sure that the existing regulations are enforceable, and more importantly, enforced with appropriate fines levied for noncompliance. This is going to help enhance the quality of life for our residents by minimizing the reports on noise, trash, and parking issues, while providing clear ground rules for STR owners to operate by.
Thank you, David. Paul?
All righty. I just want to say that I think STROAG has done an amazing job of everything they've done to put so many great things in place. That it's a lot of things that don't need to be changed, because you guys have done the hard work and the hard labor to make sure that the right people are in the right places, that we don't have to think so much hard about it as citizens. That I think that the only thing that I see that some citizens of Galveston feel that sometimes that the marshals sometimes can be intrusive, that they look like second class citizens, and that the short-term rentals can sometimes be seen before them, but that's something that can also be worked on. I think that the short-term rentals have done amazing things and have created amazing revenues here in the city. I was one person who was last year was very strongly on, hey, we need to have restrictions, but like we said, the market dictated itself. And now a lot of those people aren't here anymore, but also too, like we said, if they're not doing what they need to do, they're not here anymore as well. So I believe that the money that is being put up, I think right now it's about 4,000 rentals at $250 a pop. They're looking at $1 million, that this money can be put and advocated back into our community, back into our cities, and also to our youth and our kids and our families. Let's see how can we take this money and bring it back into the community to build a better and better Galveston and beautify our city as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. And we're going to finish up with District 3. Jeff?
So sorry about that. I think the question was originally all the way back a half an hour ago. what do we see the future of short-term rentals? Is that right?
What is your vision for short-term rentals and their role in the community?
Well, I have to say I'm excited about the future of short-term rentals, and as a small business owner and entrepreneur, I am excited to help other business people succeed in this community. And like the mayor said when we first got on this call, short-term rentals are vital to our community. And I feel like I had a conversation with Bryson over at the park board about collecting data, because all we hear is the negative of things. You never hear of the positive things, like kind of going to a restaurant, you have a bad meal and everybody knows about it. You have a good meal and not too many people know about it. There's a good friend of mine, David Bloom, and his wife Heidi, that have been very successful in their short-term rentals, and they do a fantastic job. And I would go so far as to say they're excellent ambassadors for Galveston. And there's somebody that I look to and I say, wow, they got it right. And I want to support those type of people. I also think the short-term rentals that have come into our neighborhoods have done a fantastic job at improving their homes and landscaping and the street scene. So yeah, you know, do we have to deal with some loud noises and trash? And are there ordinances that we need to make sure that we enforce and comply to? Absolutely. But I'm excited about the future. And just like Luke had mentioned earlier, at the end of the day, the market is going to dictate what happens. And like I said, I'm excited about the future.
Thank you, Jeff. Bob?
A vision for STRs, I think a vision would be to achieve a balance and a level of trust between short-term rental operators and the residents. I think we need to balance the impact of short-term rentals on neighborhoods and improve the communication between the operators and the residents to build trust. A good example is the STROAG brochure that informs the residents and how to informs the STR guests on how to conduct their stay to be respectful to residents in their neighborhood. And I hope that is in all STRs across the city. In fact, that would be a good document to get out to the residents in the neighborhoods where there are STRs to demonstrate that you are concerned about how the STRs are in their neighborhood. Something like that will help build trust, I think, between STRs and neighbors. And the city and STROAG and Vision Galveston have all done a real good job of collecting data on the STRs. And this is a great resource to begin understanding how to manage STRs. Like Tony Lyle said, balance is the key here. We have great data from a lot of sources, but we need a forum to determine what our residents think who live in the neighborhoods where STRs operate. We need to have a forum and maybe a committee that represents all the stakeholders, like the residents, STR operators, the city. Vision Galveston has got great data on that to get a comprehensive view. A lot of STRs are operated by full-time residents who use that income to support their house payments. They have a real stake in the island, and I fully support that approach. In fact, we might consider finding a way to dedicate a portion of the hot tax generated by STRs to make improvements in those neighborhoods impacted them, like fixing sidewalks and installing historic lighting in the East End would support heritage tourism in that area. The tourists ride the carriages through the neighborhood. They do walking tours, bike through the neighborhood. All of that seems like we need to be able to maintain that. And am I done?
I'm so sorry. We've got double zeros on you.
I'm sorry.
No, you're doing great. Thank you so much for sharing that. Guys, we're down 2 questions left and we're going to get through this. So the second to last question is, how do you propose sharing expenses associated with tourism across entities that benefit from tourism on the island? And for this question, we're going to start with District 5. Michael?
Thank you. I guess it's a confusing question, which entities benefit. I think when we look at taxes, I think the island should benefit, and I think we need to be looking at the island is the residents, and the residents need to benefit. And I'll say that again, residents need to benefit from our decisions. We are looking to our residents who look for us for support. I think Murray Robb has been on council for 4 years now. It made it clear that they're our voters, and we need to look to support them. I'll say it, and I'll say it again, as someone who was born and raised here. When you do good things for residents, good things happen for tourists. And I've seen it every day since probably the later part of my life, that Galveston's improved a lot lately. And we see it. Because people understood that quality of life in Galveston is crucial. And that has to be a priority. And when we hear otherwise, it's concerning to me. We have to look to what's going to be good for us. We need to partner together with all entities that support that profit, but they need to look to residents, and that tax base has to profit and benefit residents, and then the tourists who visit will benefit. That has been proven over and over again in Galveston.
Thank you, Michael. Bo?
Well, the first thing is, I want to, show that my position is the fact that, just as Jeff mentioned earlier, there's many residents that live here in Galveston that are also small business owners in the form of short-term rentals. And so I think it's, to disregard their importance here in Galveston is they're residents too, and they have small businesses in the form of short-term rentals. So, it's not, I definitely want to look out for all of my constituents, and I always have, in the form of being on the school board for 9.5 years. I mean, I was their voice, and I plan on being their voice also there at District 5 City Council member. It's very important to me that these expenses are shared in the form of making these visitors feel safe. I want to make sure that, first off, that our police department is very well provided for, and that they can, depend on what they have as far as, their equipment, and make sure that they have all the men that they need on staff. I think that's a big sharing opportunity, as well as with our fire department. And, that safety is my biggest concern. And when we have people that are visiting, that's what brings them back. If they feel safe and they feel that we have pride in our police and fire, that's always going to be a big thing to bring people back.
Thank you, Bo. We're going to swing back to District 1 now. Sharon Lewis.
Those entities that benefit, am I right on the question?
I'd be happy to repeat the question. How do you propose sharing expenses associated with tourism across entities that benefit from tourism?
Well, a major thing is safety, beautification. I think all those things will be part of that beneficial package. And last but not least, but the businesses that are within that area, the homeowners that are within that area, I think that we should be able to put some kind of funding to, again, enhance those communities, and continue with the whole picture of short-term rentals, property owners, and the businesses on our island.
Thank you, Sharon. We're going to bring it back to District 2 now. David, if you could lead us off.
Yeah, when I hear the question, I think there are two sides of that. When you say sharing expenses of tourism with entities that benefit from tourism, I mean, the entities that are benefiting from tourism are the park board and port, and also short-term rentals. But I don't know that that's necessarily the main focus. I mean, I started off thinking about the 3 Ps: police, park board, and port. That, I've already stated earlier, if well over the majority of offenses are being performed by non-residents, then how do we as a community make sure that our residents are not paying for a disproportionate portion of police enforcement? And so I think what that means is that we take a hard look at hot expenditures, where they've been going in the past. If we need to consider legislative agenda items for consideration, then we do that. I think continued support of the beach patrol and the safety of our visitors is paramount as well. And then in terms of the port, we need to make sure that we are capturing appropriate amount of revenues from the port to pay for infrastructure and port improvements that are supporting the port, like future improvements to Harborside, or pedestrian improvements to make safe crossings across that area.
Thank you, David. Paul?
Okay. I think something that we did touch on is, I think that when we start and we think about who's going to benefit, and I think that the citizens can benefit a lot from this, from all the different things that are going to come out the hot tax. I know this hot tax coming from being overseen by the city is something new, and they're still trying to work out exactly where some of these funds should be going. But I think the citizens should also be a part of that in dictating where the needs are as well. I think that one thing is everybody's mind is safety, safety for on our streets, things that we always talk about, the golf carts and things that we can be doing because these are the people who come down here. One thing that with me being a part of Visions Galveston on the executive board that I talked to Mr. Mitchell about was actually putting money back into hospitality. Also too, because one thing is when people come here is the service that they get. So we wanted to do better training with our people and our staffing, and putting money into our workforce here on the island as well. I think that we will benefit more when we start looking inside of our city of what we're going to do with the hot tax in general, of putting it into our ports. Right now, I just went and spoke to the guys from the ILA Hall, and they're doing very well with the expenditure. But as we do expend these things and do different things here on this island, also talking to different people that as we build and grow, making sure that our residents and our people are taken care of first. Thank you. I'm sorry. Should have swiped over. I'm sorry, Winner. Don't get me.
No, it just came up. You did good.
Okay, all right.
Could you repeat that one more time, that question? I'm sorry.
Absolutely. How do you propose sharing expenses associated with tourism across entities that benefit from tourism?
I think that's inherently works within the system. The only thing we can do, I think, as city council is that we reflect where we want those expenditures to go by how we approve our budgets. A budget is a reflection of your priorities. So if these are priorities that we're talking about, then just by nature, we need to make sure that we take care of that at the budgeting process. But if you have tourists spending money in businesses, those businesses are paying their rent, their bills, their employees, and everything else. And then you've got the is Sharon on, or is that me? I'm sorry.
No, it's you, Sharon.
Okay.
Sharon has muted herself.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
So I think that if you're with the hot taxes are paid at the hotels, those are designated for certain things. If we need to change where they're designated, then we need to find that mechanism to go to the state and get laws changed to accommodate it. When it comes to the other expenditures, police and fire, we have to make sure they're compensated, but we understand we're in a tourist environment. So, I mean, a destination. So we have to have police and fire. And I think we have a good idea for that. That's why the police and fire endorsed me along with the Chamber of Commerce, because you got to put all these things together and understand that if one of the cogs don't work, it all breaks down. We have to take an approach of all the pieces and making sure they're all working properly. And when you do that, we're going to have a great results. Thank you. We're going to move on to District 3. Bob?
Okay, proposed sharing expenses. I think before we start off on creating any kind of solutions for something like this, we would need good data and stakeholder collaboration to identify who is impacted and who is served. And I agree with Craig earlier that really the goal of this is to maintain or improve the quality of life for the citizens that are here. But we need that data and that collaboration. And then from that, we need to ensure fairness in the application of these expenses stakeholders. You know, we need to look at as many different sources of income we have and assure that fairness of expenses. Like we have lots of income from the cruise ships, from fees. IDC has possible revenue source for that, and expenses like the police and the city sanitation, infrastructure, maintenance of streets and sidewalks and all of that. So I think we need the data, and we need the collection, the forum to create a fair application among all the stakeholders.
Thank you, Bob. Jeff?
Yeah, you know, look, I think everybody on this call knows this. We had 8 million visitors here last year. And I don't think that number is going to go down. We have Margaritaville that's here. We have another cruise ship terminal coming here. We have 4,000 short-term rentals. Our island is growing. And I agree with what David said. If that means that we have to try to allocate hot funds in a different way and get legislation up in Austin on board with that, I'm open to that, because what's going to suffer are our first responders. I mean, just look at this past weekend. Holy cow, all over the internet. These guys there's a car that ran into a residential home. There's people running off the seawall. I mean, that is just going to increase tenfold. So we need to make sure that we're taking care of our emergency services folks. And we also need to make sure that as we do our developments, they're responsible. So I don't like the fact that I have shuttle buses running through my district getting to the cruise ship terminals. It's very dangerous. And I want to make sure that we do things that's responsible and planning ahead. So I think that there's a lot of positive things to come, but we need to look a little further ahead. I think we should be looking at 3 to 5 years right now. Where are we going to be in 5 years from now, and make plans to prepare for that?
Thank you. We're going to finish up District 4. Mike?
Yeah, thanks. I think I took a little different look at this question. So as city council, it's our responsibility to interview and place people on the park board and the board of the port. And so with that, those are the people that kind of oversee how the money is being spent through HOT, and that money is being generated through the hotel occupancy tax. And so we need the hoteliers to be present. And then we also need the short-term rentals to be on that board for park board, to be present, to understand how that money is being spent, how it's cleaning our beaches, guarding our beaches, how, it goes through the whole thing. But then the same thing goes with the people that are on the board for the port. We have to have people there that oversee, that can protect our residents for traffic problems and for seeing the problems that they're going to have. So as a city council person, we need to have and interview the people that are going to be on these boards and have responsible people.
Thank you. And the final candidate on this, Alex.
You saved the best for last. So I think with sharing expenses, it's hard to do without collaborating and working together. Businesses generate sales tax, which the IDC spends. Hot tax is, it's up in the air for, who really gets to spend it right now. But, if it's allocated for what it is that we can, we get money from the port in terms of, kickbacks from ticket sales and embarkation, disembarkation, parking. But I think, some things that don't hurt businesses, we need to bump those numbers up. Is someone going to squawk at $2 a day for parking their car? Is a $5 fee on a cruise line ticket going to hurt a $1,400 cruise ticket? I don't think it is. So short-term things we can do, but long-term and sharing these expenses, we need to sit down with the chamber, with the park board, the WARS board, getting everybody involved together with a long-term approach of well, do we need to, for example, start ticketing for littering on the beach? How do we do that? How does that expense go into that process? And it's all about generating, it's got to be self-sustaining. It's got to be sustainable at some point. So where exactly does that lie? Where do we go with it? I think with collaborating with every stakeholder that does benefit, and putting an emphasis on how do we get that money, how do we get those resources to make the residents, that's the park board's existence, is to how we can have residents and tourism kind of collide together and mesh together in a good way. So I guess my time's up.
Thank you, Alex. And guys, we're at the final question, which is, what changes would you make to streamline processes between the park board and the city so that HOT tax enforcement happens in a timely manner? And we're going to go back and start with District 1 on this. Sharon? Sharon, your mic is off, dear. Sharon, we can't hear you, dear. Sharon?
Okay, it's
There you go.
unmuted. Right?
There you go.
Okay. All righty, so I took some notes here, and I was looking at or listening to earlier what the mayor was saying. And in short-term rentals, we have to make sure that we're not, let's see, how do you say this? We don't want to cut off something that's going to affect the whole city. So short-term rentals are part of the hot tax dollars, but we have to look at using those fees, and I still say, to do the extra things that some of us have mentioned. If it's policing, if it's the proper software, if it's just doing to enhance or improve neighborhood or communication with residents in the neighborhood. Short-term rentals aren't going away. They're here. You guys have been great with guidelines, rules, and I just think that we just need to push it, continuing and getting better.
Thank you, Sharon. We're going to move back to District 2 on this. Paul? Paul Morgan?
Right. Can you repeat the question one more time? I'm so sorry
Sure
about that.
can. No problem. What changes would you make to streamline processes between the park board and the city so that HOT tax enforcement happens in a timely manner?
I think this is a little out of my scope, but I think at the end of the day, it's all about communication and breaking down barriers. Just sitting down and really seeing what is the best for everyone, and also too for the community. How does certain things that can be done differently, and learning from the past and seeing how can we go forward and streamline things that make sense, and not putting up barricades amongst each other.
Thank you. Thank you, Paul. Luke?
Yeah, I think on this one is you just have to, council has to set the direction and require the city and the Parks Board to sit down and find out where there's redundancies, where should the functions reside, implement the automation that's there. And I mean, we talk about Galveston line, and it's our unique island, but the short-term rentals fees and tax collections aren't unique. They're being done all over the country and being done very effectively. Let's find out what they're doing and make sure we're using best practices. But let's don't argue about who does what, because we need to get it done in the most efficient and the fastest manner, and so that the whole system works. So that would be the key. And again, that goes back to that whole transparency and providing direction. It seems to me a lot of times our council takes direction, and we're running for office to be able to give direction, and we need to set the direction for what we want to get done, and then hold the proper folks accountable for getting it done the way it was directed. And I think it's an easy thing to do. It's just a culture that I grew up with in my corporate life, is that you provide direction, you hold accountability, and you get good results. So this isn't a hard thing to do with the collection and enforcement of these things. It's just harnessing the resources, put them in the right direction, and hold them accountable to get a decision made and implemented. And I think you can get it done a lot faster than we might think.
Thank you, Luke. David?
Yeah, one of the things that we looked at with the STR task force was exactly this. Back in 2015, this task was handed to the park board at a time when the city of Galveston didn't have the bandwidth and resources within its financial department to do this. They determined that it was best to be put at the park board. The challenge that we have is that we have enforcement being done by a myriad of different groups. You've got the call center, you've got code enforcement, you've got police potentially. 3 different entities in 3 different locations. So the city is actively taking a look at creating a consolidated call center that would be for non-emergency uses. Okay, so you have 911 for emergency, and then you got everything else. So if you have, if you've got an enforcement issue, or people are dropping trash, parking, noise, it doesn't matter. You got a dog loose that you need to get animal control. You call a single dispatch center that is going to address that. And that's where also we're considering having the STR enforcement reside as well, so that then that process for enforcement becomes a lot more effective. And anything that we do should be making processes cleaner, communication better, and enforcement enforceable. So I think you're going to see that coming up here probably in June, the first round of recommendations from the city on this. So the good news is I think you're going to see this coming pretty quickly.
Thank you. We're going to move on to District 3 on this. Jeff?
Yeah, I think David outlined some really great details, and I'm going to stay at a high level here and kind of go off of what Luke said. It comes down to 3 things: leadership, leadership, leadership. And that's where it has to start. And the top, our mayor, is going to dictate the tone of our council and dictate where our city's going to go. And he needs to lead us there. And our city council needs to take up that and run with it and make sure that we are using that across the board to the park board and the wharfs board. So collaboration, communication, and leadership, I think, is the way that we're going to get there, and we need to execute.
Thank you, Jeff. Bob? Ooh, Bob,
There's not enough buy-in and the trust in us. I think we need better stakeholder collaboration. That is, we need the people who are impacted by these by tourism and the hot tax to come together. We need to match the need for this hot tax with where the hot tax is generated for fairness and accountability. Right now, out of those 15 pennies, there's only 6 7/8 goes to the city, and 6 of those goes to the park board. And that leaves, you know, 1/8 of a penny for historic preservation and 6/8 of a penny for arts and historic preservation. But we need to match up the places where the hot tax is generated to benefit those who are in that area, I think. And that'll provide a level of trust in the process. It'll clarify things. We need to clarify the use of this, clarify the state rules on this, the state regulations on how to use it, make sure everybody understands the process before, and then be fair about how it's allocated.
Thank you, Bob. We'll move on to District 4. I'm going to real quick restate it one more time, just because it's a little bit of a long question. What changes would you make to streamline the processes between the park board and the city so that HOT tax enforcement happens in a timely manner? And we'll start with Alex on this.
I wholeheartedly agree with Luke and Jeff's answer. It starts with council. Council needs to give a directive to city staff to work with park board staff better, so those enforcement actions are taken in a unified manner and it's done properly. I think one of the biggest issues that we had, and it's one of my campaign promises to take the personal out of politics, we had a lot of personal fighting going on for a better of 16 months over this hot tax issue. When governments fight, it even slows down the bureaucracy slower than it already is. And we need to, again, council has a directive. The directive is work with city staff, work with the park board staff, and work together. Here's the singular issue. This is what you needed to be done. And I think overall better relationship with the Wars Board and the city and the Park Board would instituting something like quarterly meetings with both entities to hash out the problems. What are the problems? How can council better direct city staff to handle those problems and work together with port staff and Park Board staff to alleviate those concerns together? So that's mine.
Thank you, Alex. Mike?
Can you repeat the question?
Absolutely. What changes would you make to streamline processes between the park board and city so that HOT tax enforcement happens in a timely manner?
Okay, so the city and the park board are already having monthly meetings, which they haven't had for years. So every month, the higher management of the park board and the city get together and collaborate on items that are happening. What it needs to happen is the city needs to collect the hotel hot, and the park board needs to collect the SDR hot and separate those two. The reason being is the park board has the software and everything to do that, and they have the person to make sure that the registration fees and everything are all paid up, but that the park board collects the SDRs and the city collects the hotel hot. Now the city is enforcing the ordinances, so the call center needs to move to the city, and the city needs to take in the phone calls and then send the appropriate enforcement out to where the problem is. And so with that, that would streamline the system and the gap that we have right now between the call center being over at the park board and the enforcement lying with the city. Thanks.
Thank you, Mike. We're going to finish up with District 5. Bo?
You know, I think the number one thing is to stop the infighting. You know, the realization that we're all in this together. You know, we stratify things with the Parks Board, you know, the port, the city of Galveston, and all different entities. And, you know, I think we need to have a unified vision. You know, I'd start with the fact that, you know, our board needs to have representation for the stakeholders. You know, with city council, you know, being the ones that help designate who's going to be on those boards. You know, I think it's important that short-term rental owners and hotel general managers and people that you know have high stakes are represented on that board. And I think that will help alleviate some of the distrust that's been going on and make things important. And, you know, like as Jeff said, at city council, we've got to provide leadership. We've got to provide a unified vision that people can follow and realize that we're able to accomplish these things, you know, with the fact that we're all in for Galveston. And that would be, you know, the start is to make sure that we have people on the board that balances out that board to know that, you know, we're all in this together. And that would be my number one answer for that. And secondly is just to utilize the tools we have in place. Stop the finger pointing, get to work, and you know, take leadership from the city council and make sure that we're unified in our vision.
Thank you, Bo. Final answer, Michael.
Thank you. Firstly, I just want to make sure most people understand that every time we say, what is city council going to do with an entity like Parks Board part of the city. And I think every time there's been this issues over the last 18 months of this back and forth is city council chooses the Parks Board representatives. And if they haven't been happy over the last year, it's because they made a mistake. And, you know, the ones who've been arguing it, you know, they haven't admitted that they made a mistake or they didn't like what the results of their choices were. And I think we need to understand when we pick our representatives for our boards, we need to understand that they're supposed to represent the city. And if you don't like it, then that was, you know, an unfortunate choice. I think when we look at things like the enforcement, it's ironically the one time I've been called out several times for my comments on free market. And now all of a sudden it's the city to decide what the policy is going to be. Countless cities across the country have gone to companies like Airbnb and said, it's your responsibility to hold these these short-term rentals accountable for their fees. And if they don't pay it, you don't get your fee, not the city. City doesn't need to do the enforcement. Let the entities do the enforcement. And if they don't enforce requirements on their end, then they don't get the city enforcement, and we still get, or they don't get their fees and we still get our fees. So put the burden on them.
Thank you so much, guys. It's time for closing comments. We're going to start with District 2. Luke.
Thank you for having us. I think it was nice. Maybe we can do it in person next time these Zoom meetings get a little wacky. And if when I get on council, I think one of the first things I would recommend is that we eliminate Zoom meetings there as well too, because there's nothing better than getting together face to face when you can. And if we're going to commit to run, we need to dedicate ourselves to the job. But thank you so much, and I hope those listening or those who are going to be watching us later in District 2 will vote for Luke Bowman, District 2. Thank you.
Thank you, Luke. David? David, your mic's off.
Every single time. As a small business owner with 6 employees, myself, a civil engineer and urban planner, I'm a project manager with experience in creating better communities, I have an ethical obligation to prioritize the investment of dollars effectively and efficiently. I'm a consensus builder, as evidenced from taking the initiative to create the STR task force. I believe in balanced, pragmatic solutions that consider all sides of an issue, and my approach is to weigh all those factors and make decisions that will serve the best interests of the entire city of Galveston. I've always prioritized transparent communication with our constituents, and I'm here to listen and represent your interests, not push a personal agenda. Your feedback has been instrumental in shaping our policies and initiatives. At the end of the day, you elect a representative to be responsive to your immediate issues while maintaining a focus on creating policies that improve the quality of life for all residents. And I have demonstrated that leadership, initiative, and balance by taking the long view and pushing the city to update the comp plan, a 10-year living document that benefits the entire community and has a say in shaping what Galveston looks like. I'm thankful to the STROAG leadership for collaborating with me on the STR task force. I know we're going to have some good, solid, implementable recommendations from that. So thank you again.
Thank you. Paul?
Okay. In my closing remarks, when I was 25 years old, I became a senior pastor here on the island. As a young man, I knew I didn't know anything, a lot of things I didn't know at that time. But in my leadership, I was never afraid to ask for help, to ask for wisdom from those who came before me, and always willing to collaborate. That's one thing about me that in my leadership is it's about working with others, unifying. How can we build a stronger place, putting the proper people in place, not afraid to ask a question if you don't know the question, the answer to it. And also, too, building something beautifully together. One of my last closing remarks is that I think there's a bunch of amazing people on this call, a lot of amazing candidates. Whether I win or lose, I would love to work with all of you in different facets, in different ways, to continue to build a more beautiful and lustrous Galveston for everyone. That is not just about one of us, whether we win or lose. It's about we're going to be on this island for a long time, and we should be the face and the representation that they see. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Moving on to District 3, Bob.
Okay. Well, thank you, Anna, and thank you, STROAG, for putting on this forum. I think it's been very beneficial for all of us candidates and hopefully to the board also. My long history in civic leadership, professional experience, and proven ability to collaborate and build trust, and my love for the island prepare me to be an effective advocate at City Hall for the residents of District 3. I believe Galveston's finest years are ahead, and with your support, we'll shape the future to provide the best quality of life for those lucky enough to call Galveston Island home. The sense of place, the people, the history, the natural beauty, and our island's vulnerability create a unique diversity that's sometimes difficult to manage as we grow, but absolutely compelling and worthy of my time and best effort to protect. Please check my website, bobbrownfordistrict3.com. Ask me questions, and if you like what you see, please vote for me on May 4th. Thanks.
Thank you, Bob. Jeff?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to STROAG and also everyone on this Zoom call. Each and every one of you, we all bring lots of strengths to the table, and we're all passionate about Galveston. And I think that shows. This is not a difficult, or this is not an easy task, excuse me, to run for a campaign. And for those of the incumbents, you know how that is. And for the rest of us, we're learning pretty quickly. I am looking to use my diverse background to bring a positive change and also a different view of Galveston to the residents of Galveston. And I hope to help the short-term rental market with being an advocate as a entrepreneur and a small business owner. And I look forward to the future. And I thank you very much for having me on tonight.
Thank you, Mike. We're moving on to District 4. Mike?
Yeah, thanks. I just want to thank everybody that hung with us the whole time we were out ranting on about these issues. I do want to say, though, I do have experience in underground utilities, wastewater and water treatment, and recently that's come to my advantage. We have talked about the 45th Street drainage, and under Jason Hardcastle, who was a councilman, and Roger Quiroga, there was a problem with this, and the problem was brought to my attention, and I didn't stop until it's done. Today, if you go out there on L and 45th Street, you'll see construction going on, completing a lateral that was not completed back when 45th Street was being built. And so I made sure they TV'd the line, found the problem, and got it fixed. So vote for, go out and vote. It's very important that everybody goes out and votes. And I hope that I've earned your vote. And thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Alex?
So I want to second Luke's comment about Zoom. I think making the commitment to be there and be in person. While I do appreciate the opportunity to be in my own home and like this, it was kind of nice. But, you know, we need leadership. We really need a new council. We need a strong council that has a unified vision. And, you know, we don't need more committees and to drag our feet on things. We need to take action, but not blindly. So communication and collaboration can work without having established committees that will table something. You know, we need people that are hands-on, that can roll their sleeves up and move forward. You know, commitment, and to me is you know, I don't need a script, or I don't need a talking points to prove it. You know, it's in my blood. It's in the sand in Galveston. You know, I buried my grandfather next to his parents, and you know, they were leaders in their own right, and I want to continue that. And I think it's important to have that strong connection to the island. And you know, newcomers here, I'm sure you're here for those same exact reasons. But you know, again, if you need more information, alexpareto.com. Early voting is April 22nd through May 30th. And then, you know, vote Alex Pareto for District 4 when you're at the voting booth, and I'm happy to see you there.
Thank you. We're going to move on to District 5. Michael?
Thank you. Again, I'll thank STROAG for hosting this. I thank you for hosting it virtually. I'm a guy who loves to see people out in public, but I understand that that's not the case for most people. People have lives, people have responsibilities, people have commitments, and I appreciate you volunteering this opportunity that people can get on virtually. We look to our leadership in Galveston, and I believe our city leadership is more than just 6 council members and a mayor. We have countless leaders who volunteer time, but you know, don't have the ability to give up free time and give up their commitment. So I do want to appreciate you offering this virtually, and I look to keep that to continue. As somebody who has spent his career giving back to the community, working in nonprofits and working for government agencies, I've never done anything for myself, and that I look to continue. So I want to make sure it's easier for myself and for others to simply give back and look for what's best for everybody. and not try to figure out where I can benefit and where others can benefit, but I want to see where can the residents of Galveston benefit. I'll say it again. When we do things good for Galveston residents, we do good things for everybody. And I don't believe it's the other way around. If we put time in for tourists, it doesn't mean it's going to trickle back to residents. But if we put effort in to get to residents, it will benefit Galveston as a whole. Niebuhrforgalveston.com. Look for me for District 5. Thank you.
Thank you, Bo.
Again, thanks, Anna, for putting this together. It's been one of several over the last couple of weeks, so I appreciate every opportunity I get to explain my positions, and I appreciate y'all doing this. Again, I'm Bo Rollins. I want to be your leader as your city council member for District 5. I promise to be a very transparent, very independent, and a very responsive council member. I look back on my history here in Galveston, which has been lifelong. I too have been very active voluntarily with raising my kids here and now getting a chance to be active in raising my grandkids. I am supported by the Chamber of Commerce, by the Galveston Municipal Police Association, by the Firemen's Association, and by several individuals that believe that I would represent each of them very well. Again, I'm a small business owner here in Galveston, a lifelong resident, and I want you to keep in mind that I have a long history, that I've seen what Galveston has been, I've seen what we are, and I know what we can become. And I want to be that leader that helps with that vision of carrying that on, not just now, but in 3 years and 5 years, and for the lifetime opportunity of my generations and everyone else's generations to come. So thanks again, Bo Rollins for District 5 City Council. Early voting is April 22nd through April 29th, and Election Day is May 4th. And I hope that I've gained your support to put your vote for Bo Rollins. Thank you.
Thank you. And our final closing comments, Sharon.
Am I unmuted?
You are.
Can you hear me? Great. I tried to do it early. Again, a big thank you to the organization and you, Anna. It's always a pleasure to discuss city business. And again, it's an honor to serve as District 1 and to serve for my first term. And as you all know, I completed a term from E.R. Johnson. But I still always say that Galveston itself is in a unique position. There are lots of variables here. Tonight, we've talked about some, but not all of them. But this island is inclusive of economic development, housing needs, streamlining some of the city business, especially for those who are elderly. A lot of people don't do online. So that's a focus that we still need to continue. And as a city council, you get personal calls from people who have personal issues, whether it's a pipe, whether it's street lights or whatever. So that's one thing that we still need to keep in mind, that people have personal requests. And sometimes that becomes a challenge because we do have different channels that we have to go through. But every department at the city of Galveston that I've communicated with have been positive and have reached out to people in the community. And lastly, I'd like to say that as we move along, we will continue with collaboration. Some of the things that were mentioned tonight are already in place with the city and the park board and the port.
Sharon, I hate to do this to you. It's been up for a while, the double zeros.
Okay.
Do you have a website you want to send people to?
Yes, I will. Sorry, thanks.
No worries. Sharon, thank you. Thank you so much. All right, all of you. Not only have you demonstrated an interest in serving the city, you've demonstrated a tremendous amount of patience by lasting through this entire forum tonight. Thank you. Thank you for your willingness to serve. This is our second candidate forum. I've already got ideas about how we can streamline it and use your time a little bit better next time. We will be posting this forum for public consumption, indexed for content. And we want to thank you again also for putting your hat in the ring. You make the island better just by doing it. With that, we close this meeting.
Thank you.